I mean, this is why he's able to do this. You see what I'm saying yet? Okay, so what I've been doing recently, you know, with the critiques, with the art roasts and everything, I've been ending a lot of people's whole careers. But what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna start your whole career. All right, so we're talking about art styles today. Everyone's always talking about art styles. You know, like, how do I find my art style? How do you find your art style? I'm gonna tell you something that you didn't know about art styles. You might have known about it, but seeing all of these pretty art styles can sometimes overshadow something that's really important for you to know. And that is realism. You weren't expecting that, were you? I think with our current obsession with art styles, we tend to forget about the importance of realism. Now here's the thing, okay, when you're able to draw realistically, when you're able to understand the subject that you're drawing to a high degree, it's gonna make your life a lot easier when it comes to stylization. Now this seems counterintuitive, just bear with me here. So a really good analogy that I like to use for this is, let's say you were sitting in a lecture hall, your professor gives you an article and you have to summarize that article in maybe 500 words. Now that article is like the subject and the summary is like your art. The wording, the punctuation, the sentence structure that you choose to summarize that article is going to be your specific style. And everyone's gonna have a different way of summarizing that same article. But at the same time, if you don't read through that article, if you don't understand it, it's gonna be really difficult for you to come up with a compelling summary. Same thing for art styles. If you understand your subject, it's gonna be easy for you to translate that subject into something that is truly your own. So looking at your favorite artists, me, you know, like the Disney animators, the manga artists, they have one thing in common. They all know how to draw realistically. And that's what allows them to stylize so effectively. You don't believe me? Well, let me show you something here, okay? I'm about to expose the entire art world in 1080p HD because I cannot edit in 4K. All right, so I've lined up a list of artists who I'm going to talk about in this video here. They all draw very stylized, but they can also do realistic drawings. The first one is Ilya Kuchinov. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of him. He's fantastic, amazing, incredible. He's got this great approach to stylization, so simple, so pristine, fantastic colors, really great proportions. Look at that, look at the stylization of the eye. It's so anime inspired, but it's so clean, so beautiful. Look at the colors on the line art, just. But okay, let's go up a little bit. Let's look around. This portrait right here goes to show just how much he actually knows about the actual structure of the human head. You got this bright shape right here, followed by this darker shape down here. And all of this is happening because of the structure of this cheekbone on your skull. And it kind of wraps back into the nose and the nose ridge, and you can see the brow ridge right there. The shading is in all the right areas to accentuate the musculature and the bone structure underneath the face. Highly realistic. I mean, look at this. Look, you know, realistic proportions. Again, you know, just understanding the structure. And then once you have that knowledge, you can take your characters, you can expand the shape of the eyes, you can make the pupils bigger, you can play around and make the nose smoother, you can do all kinds of different things. So much of what he knows comes from the basic structure of the human head that he then expands upon in his drawings. I mean, here's a fantastic example. Look at the size of that eye, so striking, so powerful. And then you come down here, you look at this image that he drew. And then in literally the next post, you've got this. He knows how to draw realistically. That's why it's so effective when he stylizes the characters, because he understands how to do this. Moving on to the next one, okay, let's look at Aaron Blaise. Aaron is a former Disney animator and he specializes in animals, and you can see the exact same things at play here in his work. I mean, look at that. There's such a level of expressiveness to the pose and the action. Look at this, the mouth. Here, this one's like sitting tall and proud, and they have so much human emotion to them. Now, how is he able to do this? Well, if we come down here a little bit, look at that. That is almost borderline photorealistic. You know, he understands exactly how to draw these animals. So when he needs to, he can push their proportions in a way that is believable, but still highly expressive. Look at that. That's a stylized panda. It's so expressive. And when we're looking at stylized paintings like these ones, we tend to forget about the foundation that these are built on top of. I mean, this is why he's able to do, oh, I lost the painting. Where is it? Let me find it. This. You see what I'm saying yet? Now, here's the thing, okay? I know a lot of people who are like, maybe I want to draw anime style. So they just straight up learn anime style right off the bat. And for something like that, you might actually succeed. But the thing is, if you don't have that solid foundation, if you don't actually understand how that real thing looks, it's going to be very hard for you to push proportions in a way that is believable when you are asked to. I like to think of realism as a solid foundation that you can build on top of. So if you have a good foundation, you can build your skyscraper really, really high. But if your foundation is a little bit wobbly, there's only so much that you can achieve on top of that. Now let's look at somebody else. Becker, he talks about so many people's work, but nobody ever pays him any attention. That's what we're gonna do today, okay? I mean, look at this stylization, okay? This is obviously not something realistic, but there's some very powerful shapes in the eyebrows, in the eyes, in the mouth. And Ethan does a good job at hiding the fact that he knows how to draw realistically. If you go on his page, all of these portraits, almost all of them, are highly stylized in terms of their proportion. They're highly stylized in terms of their coloring and their expressions. But if you dig deep enough, and I have dug deep, and maybe a little bit too deep, right there, look at that. This is Ethan showing you that he knows exactly how to draw realistic proportions. He knows how to do this. That's why he's able, oh Lord, this is not what I came here for. This, you know, like highly stylized proportions on his characters. He does a good job of keeping that a secret though. And there's one final person I want you guys to look at, okay? So look at these stylized drawings, all right? Crazy proportions, crazy colors and lighting. I mean, look at those eyes. Look at the way that face is stylized. But what you don't know is if you go all the way down, you see what I'm saying? Pretty realistic render of a portrait. Look at that. Look at the level of realism, even in the sketch. This showcases a good, solid understanding of how to draw realistically. And then if you go up, this is an example of how you can play around with your understanding of realistic proportions to make something that looks still like the subject that you're drawing, but highly stylized. So what does this all mean? Does this mean that you have to now start drawing realistically exclusively until you can get it down to photorealism? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, of course you don't. But I think it's helpful for you to try it out. See if you can do it. See what are some of the areas that give you a lot of challenge. What are some of the areas that you might be good at? And it's going to tell you about things that you might or might not understand about the subject that you're drawing. So no, you don't have to switch over to realism completely, but I think it's always good for everyone to have a little bit of experience drawing realistically and trying to draw realistically and trying to understand things in a realistic perspective. You know what? I want to go through one final artist to just drive this point home, and this is Glen Keane. He's a Disney artist. Look at the size of the eyes. Look at the way the face kind of just squishes, and the arms so simplified. So is the hand. There's so much exaggeration to these proportions. But if you look at his work in the short film Dear Basketball, this actually showcases his very strong understanding of the anatomy, of the realistic proportions of the characters. And looking at the shading on the skull, you can tell he understands the shape of the head. And even coming down here to the deltoid, everything is extremely anatomically sound despite being so rough. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. I mean, he is so well known for drawing these Disney princesses with these incredible proportions, but behind the scenes, under all the layers of stylization, there is a very, very solid foundation. That's what you needed to know about art styles. Yeah, so I've been wanting to make this video for a little while now because, you know, I always get questions from people like, hey, should I learn to draw realistically before I try to stylize my characters? And my answer is always yes, it does help a lot. Do you have to? No, you don't. You absolutely do not. You know, it depends on what you're trying to do. You just want to make sure that you're having fun with your art. Never feel like you're burning yourself out. But if you're somebody who got into art by drawing stylized characters, I highly recommend you guys try out realism at least once or twice, just to see what are some of the things that you know, what are some of the things that you don't know, and what are some of the things that are giving you trouble. But realism, I think, it's just not talked about enough. It's one of the foundational cornerstones of being able to stylize effectively. And we often treat realism like it's this curse that we just can't break out of, and we're always trying to break out of it, but it's honestly something that I think has helped me tremendously in terms of my art. And I know for a fact that all these other amazing artists started out with realism, and that's how they found their own voice. That's how they found their own way to summarize that subject in their own words. Or in this case, brushstrokes. All right, that's it. I just wanted to drop this on you guys so that for those of you guys who have been drawing exclusively stylized art, you can have a little bit of a midlife crisis now. But I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. If you want to see more digital art content just like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. With that being said though, I'll see you guys on the next video. This is the secret. This is why I have this. What do you see? Everything that the sunlight touches is our kingdom. All right. Okay, and if you guys are wondering, actually, I do a lot of realistic practice in my sketchbooks. I still do my fair share of realism practice every once in a while. I mean, you could take a look at that. Even though I like to do stylized art now, I think realism still has a place in everyday practice. So look at that. You don't have to go all out and do like crazy realistic paintings, but if you want, get a sketchbook, do some light practice. For the people asking, this used to be one of my enemies.